Okay, good morning. Good morning, all the students. So, all of you, please give your name in the name of the participant because we are taking your attendance. So many of you have written that 1, 2, F, like that type in your participant name. So it's difficult for us to take your attendance. So please write your name and if possible roll number side by your name also so that it will be easy and later on that account attendance will be added to you. Okay. So we were discussing about the lead. So today we will be discussing some of the disease conditions of the lead. So anomalies in the position of eyelash and lead margin. So what is the pictures over here? You can see some of the conditions. So this is a anomaly. There is a defect in the lead margin due to the chronic irritations, and over here the lead margin is also everted outward so that the tear film is not free flow of the tear film occurs over here, resulting in the corneal defect. So coming to the most common conditions of the eyelid is blepharitis. We frequently come across and in our day-to-day practice. So what is blepharitis? It is a acute, subacute or chronic inflammations of lid margin. It is an extremely common disease which can be divided into following types. It is anterior blepharitis, that is anterior of the lid margins, and posterior blepharitis, which is the posterior lid margin. So in anterior blepharitis, it is a bacterial type or the staphylococcal or a seborrheic type, and posterior blepharitis is a meibomianitis or meibomian gland seborrhea, which is also called the meibomian gland dysfunction. So anterior blepharitis is staphylococcal type and posterior blepharitis is meibomian seborrhea and meibomianitis, or anterior blepharitis staphylococcal, seborrheic or mixed type. So you see this picture, it will be clear to you where the anterior blepharitis and posterior blepharitis. In chronic condition, you can have a mix or sometimes in mixed type of blepharitis also. So what are the features of the anterior blepharitis? What do they complain? So they will complain of burning sensation, giddiness, mild photophobia, crusting, redness of the lid margins, and these are usually worse in the morning and are characterized by remissions and exacerbation. So sometimes the patient will I have a similar history in the past and again it was subsided and again now it has come to it. And there will be some complaints of only foreign body sensations or grittiness or discomfort, and some complain of the symptoms are mild in the morning or at the day, but some complaints about more severe in the morning rather than the afternoon and the daytime. So these are the different complaints. So you can see like this type of crust in the margin. So, depending upon the types, the Staphylococcus blepharitis, hyperemia and telangiectasia of the anterior lid margin with hard scale, which mainly located at the base of the skull. So, they have the lid margins are red, the vessels are more prominent, and then this dandruff type of scales, they are harder. And in seborrheic type, they are hyperemic and greasy anterior lid margins with sticking together of the lashes. And these scales are soft and located anywhere in the lid margin and lashes. So in case of Staphylococcus, the base of the lash are more affected, whereas over here, as these are lighter, softer means lighter scale, so they are present anywhere in the lid margin. Severe long-standing anterior blepharitis, particularly the staphylococcal, may result in hypertrophy and scarring of the lead margin, madarosis, trichiasis, and poliosis. So subsequently, what will be the sequelae of this long-standing blepharitis is in case of these type of patients, you can have a chronic conjunctivitis, there will be the lead margins will be hypertrophy of the lead margins, or the eyelashes will be misdirection of the eyelashes, which is called trichiasis, or falling of the eyelashes, the madarosis, and poliosis is the discolorations of the eyelashes. So these different conditions can be seen. Associated these type of problems like external hodulum stye may develop by the spread of infections to the gland of meninges, and tear film instability is present in about 50% of the cases of this blepharitis. So always blepharitis patient will have a complaint similar to that of the dry eye, and we have, while treating also, we have to treat the dry eye. So hypersensitivity of the staphylococcus exotoxins may result in papillary conjunctivitis, inferior corneal epithelial punctate erosions, and marginal keratitis. So in the first picture which I have shown, that there is a marginal keratitis. So that is also the different types of staphylococcus organism. They result the toxins, and that causes a severe inflammations, and you will see the papillary conjunctivitis and deficiencies of this tear film. At the same time, it will result in the corneal erosions. So how we will treat this blepharitis? You have to go through the lead hygiene, which is very important. And lead hygiene you can do with the lukewarm water or with the baby shampoo. Just apply a little bit of this in your lead margins, and the shampoo that will cause a lead margin. It will be more soft, and you can just remove the scales, and after doing the lead hygiene, just you have to wipe it with the dry cotton or dry cotton clothes, and after that you will put a tear substitute, and in case of antibiotic ointment at the bedtime, and just the ointment. Sometimes it is not enough with simply the antibiotic ointment, so you have to mix with a milder type of the steroid mix ointment, or even a drops of the weak steroids like fluorometholone. 1 drop 4 times a day can be used. So this is how you will treat the lead hygiene. You will maintain anterior blepharitis. So coming to the posterior blepharitis, which is a meibomian seborrhea or meibominitis, which is called the meibomian gland dysfunction, which blocks the meibomian gland. That is, different plaques are over there. The orifice of the meibomian gland are situated just behind the lead margins, and these are the orifice, and from where you can see the secretions of the meibomian glands, and these plaques can also be blocked. Associated with anterior blepharitis, there can be associated with anterior blepharitis and fine blood vessels. You can see a lining of the blood vessels at the lead margin. This is characterized by excessive meibomian gland secretions. The meibomian gland orifice are capped by the small oil globules, and pressures on the tarsus result in expressions of the copious amounts of the meibomian oil. So you can see some of these in the orifice. You can see some of these plugs. It looks like the oil coming out, and some of these are empty space. So when you give a pressure at the tarsus plate, you can see this copious amount of the oil secretions is coming out. And the tear film is oily and foamy, and in severe cases, the froth accumulate on the lead margins or inner canthi and meibomian foam. So you can see at the medial and lateral canthi, they can see a foamy discharge. Meibomianitis, it is characterized by inflammation and obstructions of meibomian gland. So the posterior lid margin shows a hyperemia, telangiectasia, and obstructions of the meibomian gland orifice. And long-standing cases, it is characterized by cystic dilatation of the dog and thickening and notching of the lid margin. So in the first picture where you can see the different in the case of the lid margin. So notching of the lid margin and this notching and thickening of the lid margin, irregularities in the lid margin. And these are the punctate epithelial erosion where you are stayed with the fluorescent strip. We have a fluorescent strip, and when we use this fluorescent strip to see the corneal irregularities, so under the cobalt blue light, we will see like this type of erosions. So you can see more clearly in this picture, there is a thick secretions is expressed out in the lid, giving a and you can see over here this foamy discharge which looks like a toothpaste appearance. Over here it is seen more clearly. Express meibomian gland secretion in long-standing cases may be turbid or insipid and appears like the toothpaste-like play. So as a result of these long-standing conditions, the different complications like collagen formation, tear film instability in about 30% of the cases, or sometimes 50% also we get this papillary conjunctivitis and inferior corneal epithelial erosions. So treatment is same, but over here in case of chronic, sometimes only with the topical medication it does not heal. So we go for the systemic antibiotics like systemic tetracycline, doxycycline, minocycline, or erythromycin, azithromycin. So different groups of drugs are there, but we prefer the doxycycline. But who are very allergic to doxycycline or cannot use doxycycline due to the severe gastritis, then we choose the erythromycin or azithromycins, and at least for 6 weeks we have to continue this oral drugs and see the result. Beside that, we treat same like that of the anterior blepharitis with the lid hygiene, steroids, tear substitute, and warm compressions, and even hot compressions with hot water, or warm boiled egg which is wrapped in a cotton, or sometimes we have to do the lid massage also by using a different ointment. So what are the difference between the anterior and the posterior blepharitis, or sometimes it can be difficult to you. So locations is anterior lid margin, posterior lid margins, and loss of the eyelashes is frequent in anterior, whereas it's absent in posterior, and lid margin is hard, whereas in case of posterior blepharitis, the lid margin is unusual, and lid ulcerations occurs in case of ulcerative type of blepharitis, whereas in case of posterior blepharitis there is no ulcerations, and conjunctivitis is a papillary type, whereas in case of papillary tarsus reactions and mild to moderate conjunctivitis is there. So there can be a purulent discharge also in case of the infectious type of blepharitis. And keratitis, you can see the inferior punctate erosions, marginal type, whereas in case of posterior, you can see also a marginal infiltrate, and sometimes vascular pannus formations, that is vascularizations in cornea, and tear film disruption, which occurs in all type of blepharitis, and rosacea, which is negative in case of infectious type, whereas in posterior it occurs in about 50% of the cases. Now coming to the entropion. So entropion is the another conditions where there is a inversions of the eyelid margin. So it's a conditions when the eyelid is enrolled inside, And what happens normally, you will see the only the posterior lead margin is touches the globe and anterior lead margin is free. So whenever you will be able to whether you will be able to see punctum or not. In case of normal condition, until and unless we will pull the lead little bit, we will not be able to see punctum. But in case of ectropion, you will be able to see the punctum, and in case of entropion, you will see the posterior lead or a lead margin is enrolled inward, and you will see that the laces are misdirected, but actually the laces are not misdirected, so the lead is enrolled inside. So there are different gradings of the entropion also, and different classifications of the entropion also. So lower eyelid entropion, usually the involutionary type, which is a senile type of entropion, and it's more common the type of upper eyelid entropion is the cicastrial type, which is following the different type of the trauma or some disease conditions. So there is a grading of the entropion. In grade 1, only the posterior lead border is enrolled. So in spite of touching the globe, it is enrolled inside. And grade 2, in the intermarginal strip is enrolled inward. And in grade 3, you will see whole of the lead margin, that is the laces are also enrolled inside. So congenital type and acquired type. It's a congenital type is a rare type which is present since birth, and it may be associated with other disease conditions or other congenital conditions of the eye like microphthalmos, and the treatment is plastic reconstructions of the lid crease. The acquired type, which is very common, is the spastic type, involutionary type, and cicastrial type. So you can be confused with the entropion and ectropion grade types, or you can be confused with the entropion and ectropion classification what is given in Khurana. So it is little bit different in Khurana. Khurana, it is classified into the 4 types, but rather in case of American Academy and other book, it is classified, acquired is classified into 3 types, that is spastic type, involutionary type, and cicastrial type. A spastic type of entropion in this condition occurs due to the irritations and inflammations or after the tight ocular bandage of the orbicularis oculi muscles. So it's most common after the intraocular surgery in the patient who had unrecognized or mild involutionary eyelid change preoperatively. So some old patient, in case of senile, already the patient has some somewhat loose type of the lower lids or canthi tendon. So these patients, these are the predisposing for the, so whether in these type of conditions, if there are some aggravating factors like chronic irritations or some trauma or tight ocular bandage, then in these patients, they will have the spastic type of entropion. And sustained eyelid orbicularis muscle contraction causes the inward rotations of the eyelid margins, and it commonly occurs in the old people and usually involves the lower lid. So it's a type of the involutional type, and usually we go for the surgery which is similar to that of the involutionary type of entropion. Treat the cause of the blepharospasm and remove the bandage is applied, or treat the associated conditions of the cornea. So any irritating factors are there, then you have to remove first, then you go for the surgery. Like taping, you can just put a tape or cautery or suture technique or surgical repair or sometimes botulism toxins also. Involutionary type of the entropion, so horizontal lid laxity, vertical instability, and overriding of the pretarsus by the preceptor orbicularis. So horizontal lid laxity, which is caused by the stretching of the canthal tendon and tarsus plane. So if there is any conditions that causes a weakening of the stretching of the canthal tendon and tarsus plane, which result in the horizontal lid laxity, so it is one cause for the involutionary entropion. And other causes are vertical lead instability, that is attenuations, dehiscence, or disinsertions of the lower lead retractors, and overriding of the pretarsus by the preceptor orbicularis. So horizontal lead absence, transverse everting sutures, Witt's procedures, and Jones procedure. So there are some surgical name given. So in case of seeing the pathology, we do the surgical treatment. So Witt's procedure, Jones procedure. So that is just the toppling of the inferior lead retractors, or horizontal lead laxity present, then the lead splitting, inserting of everting sutures, and horizontal lead shortening, which is the quickened procedures, which is a significant canthal laxity should be corrected. So these are the different surgical treatments. Just if you know the name, it is okay. Modified Wheeler's operations is quite commonly performed nowadays for the we got a triangular piece of tarsus plate and conjunctiva is resected along with the double bracing, and suture is applied so in a triangular fashion, so which is called the modified Wheeler's operations. Briggs procedures are Rees modifications, so it is useful in patients associated with horizontal lead laxity. That is similar to that. We will cut over here the full thickness of the pentagonal resections of the lead tissues, and we put the suture. And sequestrial entropion, it is due to the scarring of the palpable conjunctiva. So over here you will have different causes like chemical injury, laceration, trachoma, radiation, Stevens-Johnson syndrome, and ocular pemphigoid. These are very important causes. And medical treatment with the bandage contact lens, and we have in this condition there is a high chance of seminiferon formation. So what is seminiferon? It is adhesions between the palpable and bulbal conjunctiva due to the chronic irritations by this condition. So we have to remove the seminiferon, we have to put a bandage contact lens, and we can go for the transverse tarsotomy or tarsus fractures and anterior rotations of the lead margin. So ectropion, it is the outward turning of the lead away from the globe. So in cases of the lower lead involvement, inferior punctum is not in contact with the globe, and epiphora and excoriations of the skin around the lead. These are the common features of the ectropion. And chronic exposure of the conjunctiva secondary will lead to the infections and keratinizations. You will see the keratitis or frank corneal ulcer. So eversions of the lead margin, outward eversions of the lead margin. So grade 1, you will see only the punctum is everted. So normally you are not able to see the punctum without pulling the lower lead. So when the punctum is seen without pulling the lower, means the patient has got grade 1 ectropion. In the grade 2, the lead margin is everted and the palpable conjunctiva is visible. So you will, in the grade 2, you can see the palpable conjunctiva also. And in grade 3, you will see the fornix. So what is fornix? The conjunctiva, it has got 3 parts. So bulbar conjunctiva, palpable conjunctiva, and fornix, which is a joining of this bulbar and palpable conjunctiva. So in the grade 3, the fornix will also be seen. Again, the classifications of the entropion is congenital, involutionally, sequestrial, paralytic, and mechanical. In case of entropion, you have the congenital, spastic type, involutionary, and sequestrial. Over here, the acquired type of entropion are 4 types: involutionary, sequestrial, paralytic, and mechanical. Pathogenesis is horizontal lead laxity, medial canthal tendon laxity, and lateral canthal tendon laxity. So you will do the different treatment procedures, like if there is a medial ectropion is present at the medial side of the eye, then you will do the Lazy procedure, which involves the excisor of the tarsoconjunctiva in a diamond-shaped manner, that is a spindle about 4 millimeter height and 8 millimeter long. So we have a Castro-Bizo caliper instrument where we can measure the different measurement, and parallel with the inferior to the canaliculi and punctum, together with excision of a pentagon of full thickness, lead lateral to the punctum. So without disturbing the drainage system lateral to it, we will excise the in a diamond shaped manner and put sutures. So in case of medial ectropion. So generalized ectropion is treated by the horizontal lead shortening, in which the pentagon of full thickness lead is excised where the ectropion is more marked. So in case of grade 3 ectropion or generalized ectropion is there, then we have to cut all the full thickness in a pentagon pattern, and we will just put the suture. Marked generalized ectropion with excess of the skin is there, then you can do the another procedure which is called the Kuss-Dymanoski procedure, which is quite popular given by the scientists, and from his name there is a procedure's name, and in which the pentagon of the full thickness lead is excised laterally together with the lateral triangle of the remaining skin is also excised. It is same as that of the generalized type of pentagon procedure, but over here the skin is also excised in a triangular fashion. So it's a name given by the scientists, so it's a procedure name. And in case of the cicastrial entropion, which is followed by the trauma frequently, so you will have excision of the offending scar tissue combined with a procedure that lengthen the vertical skin deficiency, such as jetplasty. So other causes are the thermal burn, chemical burn, dermatitis, ichthyosis, lacerated injuries, and skin ulcer. So treatment is transpositions, flap or free skin graft, posterior auricular, pre-auricular, and the graft are taken from the different places like pre-auricular, post-auricular, and supraclavicular. So you in these conditions you do the jetplasty. Paralytic ectropion, which is a ipsilateral facial nerve palsy or Bell's palsy or head injury or infections of the middle ear, CSOM. So you will have this paralytic ectropion also. So it's a potential complication result in these patients are they have the exposure keratopathy. Means due to the ectropion, the cornea will not be able to be closed properly and result in the dry eye, resulting in the corneal ulcer. So that is called the exposure keratopathy. So combinations of the lag of thalamus and inadequate resurfacing of the tear film over the cornea by the lid, and epiphora, that is the malpositions of the inferior lacrimal punctum, failure of the lacrimal pump mechanism, and an increase in tear production resulting from the corneal exposure. So whether due to this exposure keratopathy or epiphora, so the several causes of the epiphora are there, so that due to this ectropion we can have these conditions, because as a punctum is aligned, not aligned to the globe following the ectropion. In case of medial ectropion, then you will have a watering problem. So continuous watering will result in excoriations of the skin around the side, which also result in the ulcer formation. So temporary treatment is lubrications and temporary tarsorrhaphy. So we will just tarsorrhaphy means adhesions of the upper and lower lid, and permanently we go for the medial canthoplasty or middle base resections or lateral canthal sink surgery. And other mechanical ectropion is if the tumor is present nearby at the lead, then you will have due to the pressure effect, there will be the ectropion, and you have to remove the cause. Trichosis is other common conditions. It is misdirections of the eyelashes which irritates the cornea and the conjunctiva. So pseudotrichosis when the misdirection is secondary to the entropion. So entropion when whole of the lid margin is enrolled inward, the lashes, the lashes will touch the globe. But in case of trichosis, only the few lashes will be touching the globe. So it can be the congenital conditions, which is called the dystrichosis, and acquired conditions by scarring of the eyelid margins with different conditions like STI, ulcerative blepharitis, membranous conjunctivitis, trachoma, and also following the post-trauma. So we have a different symptoms. Some patient complains about foreign body sensation, some lacrimation, some pain, and sometimes even after the chronic irritation, there will be the ulcer formations in the cornea also. Conjunctival conditions, redness of the conjunctiva, reflex blepharospasm can be there, ciliary conditions, and recurrent erosions of the cornea. Superficial corneal opacities can be there due to the chronic irritations and vascularizations of the cornea. So different clinical presentations can be there. A patient can come most of the time complain with the foreign body sensations. And the treatment is the temporary procedure, ellipsations, and the soft bandage contact lens. So what are the permanent procedure in case of the trichosis? So trichosis is a very common condition. So most of the time what we do in a OPD is that we just block the misdirected cilia and remove it. But if it is a dystrichosis, in those conditions we have to do some permanent conditions to destroy the hair roots. So electrolysis with the help of the fine needle negative pole which is introduced into the hair follicles. And electrodiathermy can also be used where the current of the 30 milliampere is used for 30 seconds, and cryotherapy which is done frequently. So the cryo probe is there, we apply at the lid margins and which freeze at -20 degrees centigrade and which for prolonged for thawing and again refreeze. And irradiations are also we can do with the argon laser, CDA ablations or plastic repair. So these are the different conditions, permanent conditions of the trichosis. It's a very simple conditions and very irritating conditions and very common conditions in our day-to-day practice. So commonly in case of the acute conditions, by the chronic blepharitis or with sometimes with the corneal ulcer or also with following the trauma. So patient will come with a common complaint like foreign body sensations, lacrimations and watering lacrimation or sometimes discharge also. The pain is not so common symptoms of this type of patient. But if there is a chronic conditions, then there can be due to the long irritations, you can see the red eye. So conjunctival conditions, ciliary conditions, blepharospasm and corneal irritation. So once there is a corneal irritation starts, there can be the corneal opacities, corneal ulcer or even vascularizations of the cornea. And temporarily in OPD, we just remove epilations and soft bandage contact lens. But temporarily, these are the different procedures. So if it comes to you as a SAQ or a short note, then you have to write this. Because this is a very common topic, and ectropion, entropion, blepharitis, and trichosis, these are very common conditions where we frequently occur, and you should know what are the conditions, what is the pathogenesis, so it can come to you. So in the last class, I have discussed about all the anatomy. So it is very important. In the next class, we will discuss about the ptosis. So you have to come with to understand the two Cs. You have to know the LPS and orbicularis oculi, that is anatomy. So you come prepared, and also you go through the today's topic also. You have to make a habit of making a note by yourself from the very beginning, so that it will be easy for you in the final exam. So these are the things.